Hey everyone, welcome back. Hope you're having a fantastic day so far. So next year in 2025, all beneficiaries of Social Security are more than likely going to be receiving some type of an increase, but we'll be going over why we should prepare ourselves for a double dose of disappointment. Plus, RFK Jr. just qualified to be on another state's ballot in November for the presidential election. We'll be going over what that state is and where he currently stands in the polling between Trump and Biden. But before we go ahead and dive into the main content of today's video, if you wouldn't mind helping me out real quickly by just giving this video a like, that just helps out with the good old YouTube algorithm, and also consider subscribing to my channel if you have not already. Plus, if you would like to receive up to $10,000 in free stocks or $10,000 in free cash, in a pinned comment below, I will be leaving a link to Moomoo. All you have to do is once you click on that link is just sign up for a free account and then deposit at least $100. At that point, Moomoo will be sending you at least 5 free stocks worth all the way up to $10,000. And if you really just have the cash, all you have to do is once you receive the stocks is just sell them for what they're worth and then transfer the cash value right back to your bank account. Okay, so diving right into our lead story of today's video, and that involves Social Security. So over the past few months, people have been receiving letters in the mail from the Social Security Administration saying that you or someone else might owe them hundreds or possibly even thousands of dollars. And this has completely broken people. Like, for instance, if you received a letter in the mail from the Social Security Administration saying that you owe them like $50,000, well, more than likely, you probably don't have $50,000 just sitting around to repay them. And in some of these cases, the Social Security Administration was saying that you have like 30 days to repay. And if you don't repay, then they're just going to start collecting your Social Security check. So if you did not pay them back that amount, you would not receive any more money from the Social Security Administration for several months or whenever that amount got repaid. Well, thankfully, just recently they came out and said that they are no longer wanting to have 100% of the amount that they overpaid you back. Instead, that's going to be dropping all the way down to 10%. So although you still will have to repay them if they overpaid you during a set period of time, it's not going to be 100% of the amount anymore. It's now going to be 10%, and perhaps that could even be negotiable as well. And that's also going to be extended out to 60 months, the time that you have to repay them. So according to CNBC, here's what beneficiaries need to know as the Social Security Administration phases in new policies for overpayments. So the Social Security beneficiaries who owe money to the Social Security Administration may see much lower default withholding rates from their monthly checks thanks to new policies that are going into effect. As of March 25th, the Social Security Administration will no longer collect 100% of a total monthly Social Security benefit payment to recoup the money a beneficiary owes due to overpayment of benefits. Instead, the agency will collect either 10% of a beneficiary's total monthly benefit or $10, whichever is greater. But there may be a short period where beneficiaries are still affected by the old policy, the agency announced on Friday. If that happens, affected beneficiaries should call the Social Security Administration at 1-800-772-1213 to lower their withholding rate, the agency said. So if this impacted you, your friends, or your family, you might want to go ahead and pass along that number to them. They can call in to see if they can get that amount lowered. If their amount is greater than 10% that they have to pay back in, they should be able to call that number and get that lowered to 10%. And perhaps if they can negotiate even more and get that lowered even, less than 10%, that would be, of course, even better. Now, also speaking of Social Security, next year in 2025, more than likely there is going to be some type of increase for all beneficiaries of Social Security, whether you're a retiree, whether you receive SSI benefits, or whether you receive SSDI benefits. More than likely there's going to be some type of benefit because of the cost of living adjustment. We're still seeing inflation. Yes, more inflation is taking place. Granted, it's less inflation than what we saw over the past few years, but there is going to be some type of increase. But we're going to be covering why we might actually be getting ready to be in store for a double dose of disappointment. What these two disappointments are going to be involving this Social Security increase. So according to Motley Fool, right now there are two estimates that lay out how big the Social Security COLA might be in 2025. So in February, the Congressional Budget Office issued its annual budget and economic outlook from 2024 through 2034 for Social Security's Old Age and Survivors Insurance Trust Fund, which covers benefit payments to retired worker beneficiaries and the survivors of deceased workers. Among these projections was a call for Social Security's COLA to reach 2.5% for 2025. So that's the first projection, is 2.5%. Then we have the second projection. This one is from the Senior Citizens League. So in addition to the CPO offering its take on Social Security's COLA for 2025, the nonpartisan senior focused advocacy group, the Senior Citizens League, provided its own long-term forecast in February. According to TSCL's researchers, the program's long-term COLA forecast in 2025 is 1.75%, which would round up to 1.8%. So of course we have a 2.5% number from the Congressional Budget Office, and then from the Senior Citizens League, it's actually even lower at 1.8%. So two very low COLAs, lower than what we've seen over the past few years from the cost of living adjustments. So as far as the double dose of disappointment goes, they say that over the past 3 years, Social Security recipients have enjoyed a hearty boost to their monthly payouts with respective COLAs of 5.9, 8.7, and 3.2% passed along in 2022, 2023, and 2024. They say that the first disappointment would be the realization that payouts are set to climb by less than the average COLA over the past 20 years of 2.6%. After 3 years of meaningful benefit raises, retirees are likely looking at a return to what's been the norm since the Great Recession. An example, another subpar increase in their payouts. They say the second and far less obvious disappointment is that the purchasing power of Social Security income may decline even further. So back in May of 2023, last year, TSCL released a report that compared the average inflation that seniors have contended with since the start of the century to the aggregate COLAs they received over the same period, whereas COLAs have increased benefits by a total of 78% between January 2000 and February 2023. The cost of dozens of goods and services commonly purchased by seniors had risen by 141.4% over the same span. In other words, the purchasing power of a Social Security dollar had declined by 36% since 2000. So even though inflation has been rising since 2000, and yes, while Social Security beneficiaries have been receiving a cost of living adjustment based on inflation over that same time period, because the way that they base the inflation and they give these increases is not actually keeping up with inflation on these same goods and services that Social Security beneficiaries typically spend on. So because of that, we're not actually keeping up with the real inflation. Something absolutely needs to change with that. Let me know your thoughts in comments below. Now, moving into our final story of today's video. Yesterday, RFK Jr. finally qualified for yet another state for the presidential election in November, facing off against the former president in Donald Trump and the current president in Joe Biden. So now he is on the ballot in 5 different states. So according to The Hill, North Carolina is considered an important swing state for all parties in 2024, including a potential third-party ticket. Former President Trump won the state by just more than 1 percentage point in 2020, giving Republicans a slight edge and inspiring Democrats to try to win it this cycle. The addition of the Tar Heel state brings Kennedy's ballot qualified total to 5 states so far, including Utah, New Hampshire, and Hawaii. And as far as where the polling stands right now between Biden, Trump, and RFK Jr., on average, Trump is leading by 5.4 points. And of course, the most recent poll held back on March 20th and March 21st by Harvard Harris, Trump actually leads that one by 4 points. And out of those 4 points, we have Trump with 43 points, Biden with 39 points, and Kennedy with 17 points. We'll have to see whether or not Nicole Shanahan makes his prospects better as his VP or makes them worse. Obviously, Kennedy is not doing that bad with 17 points. He's definitely stealing quite a bit away from either Biden or Trump with that. But it appears that Kennedy being on the ballot is going to be helping Trump much more than what it's going to help Biden. But let me know your thoughts in comments below. In a race between Kennedy, Trump, and Biden, who are you going to be selecting this November? But that's all we have for today's video. I certainly hope that you enjoyed it and found value out of it. If you did, again, I would greatly appreciate it if you could give this video a like, Consider subscribing to my channel if you have not already, and I will see you in the next video.